All right. What's going on, everybody? And welcome back to No World Order Podcast. It has been a while. I'm your host, Word, Drew, coming from San Diego. And we got...
Big Wolfman Zach here, South Texas.
Yes, sir. And it's been a while, but we're back. A lot has been going on over these last couple of months, so I think it's time to dive into some things. You were here a couple months ago or whenever that was, and we did get a live podcast in, but it deleted. File got missing. I don't know exactly what happened. Went to go find it, and I was like, it's gone. So that was kind of frustrating.
That was frustrating. That was a good one. That was all Russian talk. That was fun.
Yeah, exactly. But that seemed to have come and passed real fast.
Yeah, I think
I don't really hear much about that anymore.
I think in the last 4 weeks, all I've heard is that Zelensky is asking more countries for more money, and we've given them some more money. But that's it. That's all.
Yeah.
Well, I think once word got out that there was like Nazis in the Ukraine, everyone's like, "Ooh, let's just talk about something else."
Yeah,
exactly.
Yes.
So
another big topic that kind of came up that I've been kind of waiting to talk about is this whole Roe versus Wade potentially getting overturned, the leakage of the court document or whatever. So I know we're going to be talking about that. What else did we have on the docket?
The big Texas shooting.
Yes.
Which I think we have the right move in just waiting. Just 24 hours and the story had already
changed,
gone a different way. It's a whole different vibe, and each of that passes, I feel like more and more is leaking out. But I like that bit because it used to be I would just jump to a conclusion, and now I'm like, well, let's just do nothing for a day. And that's all that needs to happen. All the people, well, we'll get into it. That's right. And what else did we have we're going over today?
You had mentioned this podcast from Tinfoil Hat about the egress industries or something like that. I listened to that. You had listened to that, and I think we might have some differing opinions and thoughts on that whole thing.
I thought it was interesting when I heard it.
It hooked me. It caught my attention, but the more I listened to it, I was like, we'll get into it.
Okay. All right. We'll see. I'm interested.
Yeah.
Where should we start? Let's start with the egress industries. So when I heard it, like you, we're pretty much right away into it. Like, okay, tell me more. I'm open.
Yeah.
Like I haven't heard. Usually it's like, I was home alone in this haunted house and I heard something. Okay, cool. Like we know that setup. That's cool. But this one was these two dudes talking about flyers that have been found in a few different areas of the States, but I think this area specifically that they found, the one flyer was like real and the other two were kind of just, I don't know, nothing ever really came of them. So at what point did you kind of check out? So in the beginning when they're like, hey, we were on Reddit, we saw a picture of this flyer, it was really weird, really intriguing, we called in. Are you on board at that point?
Yeah. The whole thing, the flyers was super interesting. It caught my attention. Hey Chuck, what's going on, buddy? Definitely caught my attention and everything.
Shout out to Chuck.
And it didn't ever lose my attention. I listened to the whole thing. I was into it, but the more we talk about it, the more I'll kind of explain my thought process on it. Because you dive into it, and then I'll kind of give my thoughts as we kind of digress into it.
Okay, so these two guys have a podcast. I believe it's called Hollow Sky. I went actually and listened to that episode where they had spoken about it. They on Reddit find a picture of this flyer. I believe it was in Austin that they had seen this specific flyer, and it had weird. I should have gotten the descriptors, but on the flyer it was like, if you have experienced this or if you feel that, call this.
Have you
number.
had strange dreams? Are you like
something
do you
about
remember
being
things differently? Do you remember things differently? Do you hear voices? It was kind of a broad
Yeah.
umbrella of things.
I think one of them was like, do you have dreams about being in caves or something?
Yeah.
Kind of weird, like not wacky, not sinister, just odd.
Interesting.
And it was odd pairings of things. And one of the dudes on the show was like, oh, fuck it, I'll bite. And so he called, and I believe it was a recording, he said. And then exactly at midnight, he got a text message back, I believe.
Yeah.
And they started going back and forth. And without going through every single little text message, you can listen to theirs, I guess, for that. But they knew way more about these guys than any random person should. I believe they knew that they had the podcast that they were doing, and maybe even at one point referenced like their home address or their family. So when they started talking, or when they started texting these people from
that's the thing. They never did divulge their information. They just gave coordinates, and then the guy freaked out and was like, oh my gosh, is that my house? And then he looked it up, was in a completely different state, like nothing even close to them or anything like that.
See, it was in Kentucky, which is interesting because like I said, I went and listened to the podcast where I'm jumping all over the place. Damn, it's hard to tell a story in a linear manner. So they're texting back and forth. Off and on. It takes some time for Egress to reply, and it's weird kind of cryptic responses. I think maybe a few responses were Crowley quotes, but it turned out one of his co-workers was messing with him. So there was like,
right? That's
right. Yeah. So yeah, exactly. But the one that,
because there was a second number that magically popped up out of DC. That this is where
that's not hard to do.
To me, yes, exactly. We can have burner numbers, and they make it very easy to kind of place whatever
that's what we did when
area code you want.
Yeah,
exactly. So we know all about that. We know how it's pretty easy to do that. And they didn't really explain how this second number just all of a sudden came up, because it was first this Egress Industries one where they said to have been texting back and forth, and then all of a sudden they get this DC number.
Yeah.
Like they didn't really explain how that one came to be about. And then during the Tinfoil Hat podcast, I remember Johnny, I believe, was like, he pressed them on that. He's like, so how did they know? Was it this person's like wife or whatever they were trying to explain? He's like, no, there was actually a third person. They're like, third? What are you talking about? And then, so for me, the entire time, I felt like they were being trolled the entire time.
Okay, so then the next part of the story is, and I want to get your take on this part, what do you think about the other podcast host who was also texting Egress, and then Hollow Sky and this dude from this other podcast started talking? Was that guy also being trolled? He was on it. He was a troller.
Yeah, that's what I feel. Yeah, that's what I feel.
To just boost subscriptions?
Yeah, I mean, maybe if you look up this Egress Industries, there's nothing really about it except these two podcasts, like these two guys, and then the other podcast. I looked up the flyer. Before I even on my way over here to get set up, I called the number. Doesn't exist.
Oh my God. Really?
Doesn't exist. Says this number cannot be completed as dialed. So I was like, what are they talking about? Like, what? This Egress Industries just changed their phone number all of a sudden? Like, no. That, to me, it feels like these guys probably colluded together. Maybe not. I don't really know. This is just my guess, to build up this new thing. And, it started popping off between these two podcasts. Like they got on Tinfoil Hat, you know what I mean? So I'm sure their subscribers boosted up, and they keep saying, oh, we're small podcasts. But, doing this will kind of boost some things, in my opinion. And they were not very consistent with their story. They were kind of all over the place. And a lot of it just didn't make sense. A lot of it just didn't make sense to me.
So I wasn't looking at it from that point of view, but I love it. The other dude, the other podcaster that they had on their podcast to talk about it, he had a whole nother story. So he was doing they were filming something in Kentucky, he and his crew of whatever. I think they were like out in the forest or the woods, because I think he's like a conspiracy guy. Yeah, I know. Fuck that. But they were out in Kentucky, which is interesting because that was where allegedly the area code of the egress texting the Hollow Sky people, that was the coordinates that they gave, was somewhere in Kentucky. So this other dude at a different point in time is in Kentucky. I guess he's filming something with his crew out in the woods, and he and another one of his dudes had been texting egress, and they both got text messages with like indicating that whoever was texting knew where they were at. Like, hey, say hello to whoever for me. Here's these coordinates, just playing with them, which I did start to be like, why? What's the end game? What's the point? Like, what, you know what I mean? So I did kind of start to unravel there a little bit. But I'm no lie detector, but he sounded like he was being honest. He sounded a little shaken. Maybe he's just a good actor. I don't know. But when Hollow Sky went on tinfoil, they didn't say the other dude's name because they said he had like requested to basically pull out because egress started. And
then Sam outed him.
He had doxed him. So like
but it's like he already has a podcast. He's already a known person. So
that's where I was at.
That's what I'm saying. Like all this just seems to build the lore and the mysteriousness of it. And again, if you look it up, you can't really find too much information about it. At least quickly on Google, I was trying to find it. And there's this other Egress Industries that does exist that deals with like security something. Like online security or something like that. So there is an Egress Industries.
Is it in Kentucky?
That I did not pay attention to all that. I just did a quick look because I was looking up Egress Industries and there was nothing to it. And then I typed in Egress Industries flyer, and then that flyer popped up, and I'm like, let me give this thing a call. And then that's when it's like, oh, this number cannot be completed as dialed. Tried it again, same thing. I was like, okay, what's up with this?
Okay, devil's advocate. If it's fake, if it was to drum up subscriptions, why would they let the number stop working right after they go on tinfoil?
I don't know.
Build the lore.
They called it on tinfoil hat, and then all of a sudden
it was wonky. You're right.
The Zoom got all weird, and their connection cut out, and then all of a sudden, did you guys hear that? Did you guys hear that? And then it was this random ass recording of this like robotic automated voice, and that's nowhere to be found if you call that number.
That's interesting. Also the starting point of just a picture of the flyer, I was like, ooh, like if you saw the flyer, cool. If you can rip it off the tree and take it home, like that's interesting. You could dust that motherfucker for prints if you really wanted to, right?
That's what they said they wanted to do, yeah, but nothing ever came from that. Like they could not find the original flyer. Like to me, it just all sounds made up. It just sounds made up. And like even like right before they said, oh yeah, this DC number, we think it's like a coworker's wife or a coworker or something like that. Like right before that, I was like, I think they're being trolled. And then I just feel, or they're just not making, or they're making things up, and they just could not get their story straight because all of a sudden there was 3 people. There was this DC number that they couldn't account for. There was just so many different things that I just I couldn't buy into it. I tried. It hooked me right away, but I was like, I'm just not buying these guys.
Interesting.
But I mean, I've gotten so to the point where I don't trust anybody.
Yeah.
I don't even trust conspiracy theorists anymore or truthers or whatever, because everybody, like you said, we typically jump on the story within 24 hours and make up our mind like that. And then things change and maneuver and all of that. So it's like, how can we even trust the first initial thing I don't know, man. It looks like I just don't trust anything anymore. That's where I'm at.
The only thing I can find for that egress online, I don't know if you can see the screen share.
Yeah, I can. Yeah,
is Boston and New York. So I guess not even Kentucky. Not even something fun to cling to.
Yep. And see, it's just the podcast.
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing more to it. And if you
Yeah.
type in flyers, it'll pop up with the flyer. I tried calling it and it doesn't do anything. So, see,
Damn.
it's
And
just
you know
all
what?
the podcasts.
I was gonna say, and if it is drumming it up, it's working because we heard it, and now we're talking about it here for
Exactly.
our millions and millions. I was in on it, and I was thinking about it because, like, if Hollow Sky people, and I think his last name's Hicks, if they weren't in on it, if they were just both being manipulated by the same entity, it was interesting because at one point, the whomever they were allegedly speaking with or texting with kind of try to like turn them against each other.
Yeah.
So that's why I was
that
like,
Black Mirror episode.
That's exactly what I was thinking. And I was
Yeah.
like, okay, now we need more information. What the fuck do you guys all have in common that's shady? Or on the opposite end, like really altruistic. Like maybe they go to a soup kitchen every other week and and they're being attacked for being good people. But that was what it reminded me of when they try to turn them against each other.
That's what it felt like. See, that's what I'm saying. It just felt like they were grabbing bits and pieces of many different things and building this story into one. And I just couldn't buy it. I couldn't trust these guys. I tried and it hooked me right away. But the more I listened, I was like, I don't believe it.
I want more on the coworker who was hitting them up. And I want more on...
Because, once they called that out, all of a sudden the DC number stopped. And they played it, oh, DC, that's where the big boys play and all that. I'm like, dude, prove it. Like,
yeah.
And then they couldn't. Then they're like, oh, we think it's this person. And then their whole vibe changed once they were like, I don't know if you noticed that, but they were like, they were building it up. And then they were like, yeah, then we called out, we think it's one of our coworkers. And then they just got like all like, just their hype kind of died down once they were like that. Once they were like, yeah, we were trolled kind of.
I almost want to listen to it again now to hear that, to hear that beat drop. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Interesting. I thought it was a fun story. I almost want to do like conspiracy theory fan fiction where you just like take that story and like make it good and entertaining and you know what I mean, like kind of scary, make it what it should be. Make it a Hollywood, like I want to make it a movie basically is what I want to do.
Yeah, exactly. Like that. I think that's kind of what they were trying to do, or making one of those, what is it, AGR games or whatever.
I don't
know. That's what it felt like. It's just one of those type of things that wasn't fully thought out.
I wonder if this is going to be something we see in the future when the metaverse is popping. Someone picks up something, maybe it's real, maybe it's not, maybe it exists, maybe it doesn't, but now all these people are into it and now they jump into the metaverse together and go fucking hunting for, you know what I mean? I wonder if this is going to be like take you from reality into the fucking technological hell that's coming.
Yeah.
If so, it's pretty creative. It's not bad. I'll listen. I won't do any metaverse stuff, but I enjoyed listening to it. It's very interesting.
No, I did too. It was very interesting. It hooked me right away. But the more that went on, and then the end got all weird, and then I listened to the whole thing.
It did get weird, yeah.
I just was like, I just don't buy it. But that's me. If it's true, it's very interesting. Definitely go listen to the episode of Tinfoil Hat. It's called what? Egress Industries or something like that.
Something like that.
And speaking of Sam, me and you saw him a couple years back during the pandemic on the sidewalk street. He's actually coming back June 9th. I'm going with one of my coworkers. So him and Eddie Bravo. I get to see Eddie.
I'm jealous.
Yeah, I'm super stoked on that. So shout out to Sam, Eddie Bravo, the Tinfoil Hat, that whole crew and everything like that. I'll be seeing you guys June 9th coming up.
That's rad. I'm jealous, and I hope at some point when I go to San Diego that they're there, or they can come here. Hey, I heard him say they're trying to do San Antonio and Austin at some point soon. So
nice.
I could fucking go by myself, I guess. Haven't found one decent fucking conspiracy person here. You can't even. I went like on Meetup. I was like, "Fuck it, man." What Meetup, right? I'm like conspiracy. Nothing. I'm like, of course it's blocked from fucking here too. Right. You can't do shit. One last thing on the egress, and then we can move on.
Yep.
or I could forget what the hell I was going to say. All right, maybe we'll come back to it then.
For sure. So where do you want to go through next? I know you have some pretty strong opinions on this whole abortion thing.
Yeah, let's go to the abortion thing and how fucking information is allegedly being leaked, like it's
or the school shooting
news.
Because you're right there.
Yeah, that's true. I want to do abortion first because I have a point that ties both of them together. I'm sure you have the same fucking point.
Yeah.
So the abortion thing, number one, it's being leaked, which I'm out. I don't even believe it. I'm like, okay, if it's being leaked, it's being done on purpose, obviously, to already start turning people against each other. There's all this fucking shit going on. People are yelling and screaming and fucking protesting all this stuff. It hasn't even fucking happened yet, right? Like it was just like, and that wouldn't even matter because the fucking states that like killing babies, like California and New York, they would vote it in for their state anyway.
Exactly.
You know, like
I think a lot of people don't even understand what Roe v. Wade actually means. And I didn't. I'm going to be honest. I didn't. I had to listen to some people talk about it, but it just basically says it goes to the states. And I'm all for that. I'm not for abortion in general, but I'm for states' rights instead of this overall federal power saying what you can and can't do. I would definitely prefer it being to the states, and then you can vote locally to go which way you want, you know? So I think a lot of people were confused or don't even know what the whole Roe v. Wade means. But once you have that understanding, I think a lot of people are more on board with it from what I've been seeing. Yeah. Like, because they're like, oh, it just means back to the states. Yeah, I'm all for that. Yeah. They're like, okay, well, because then you can go to whatever state or vote however you want to make it happen or not happen, you know? So then people were like, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. See, I fall down the rabbit hole then of like, great, if it's decentralized and given to each individual state, like, cool, right? Any sort of getting power away from the machine we can and closer to us is good. But we know the states fuck with the votes too, right? Like, I mean, you know, like, not to like blackpill or anything, but then I do get stuck in the, is voting even a thing? Like, is it even real? Does it even matter? Because then they could just be like, all right, leave it up to the states. They manipulate the votes. Hey, now you can kill babies up to 10 days after they're born in all 50 states, you know?
Yeah.
But I guess we'll have to see if they even continue going through with it. I know that they like to rattle us up and turn us against each other, especially like in preparation for something bigger. Like the mask thing was obviously in preparation for the jab, right? I mean, it was like, hey, let's get people split and arguing already, and then we'll get something even bigger just to fucking powder keg it. So other than getting us all riled up and starting to prep us to turn against each other, why would the Supreme Court choose this one to overturn in a time where it seems like power seems to be going up the pyramid instead of back down to us?
So what they've been saying from the people I've been listening to and stuff is, from my understanding, it's a conservative or Republican majority in the Justice Department. So they've been slowly trying to get this done over the many years, and it's finally happening. So if that's the case, you know, that's kind of a good thing. But yeah, it just seems very odd timing with everything we kind of have just came out of with the pandemic and the vaccine and all this stuff, you know, and now it just, Black Lives Matter, now it just leads right into the next thing. So, and yeah, it's very divisive. And, you know, like you said, right when it was kind of announced that it was leaked, there was protests all over at courthouses and all sorts of commotion. But that seems to have died down. But that seemed to have died down now. I don't know when that is supposed to actually take place, when it's supposed to be overturned. I haven't heard anything more about it, but yeah, they really caused a stir with that leakage. That's for sure.
It's so funny because, like everything else politically in the political realm, it reminds me of wrestling. Just like when the dirt sheets would leak that so-and-so was going to lose a title or whatever, it seems like they take the playbook from each other. It's so funny.
Yeah.
I'm with you. Less power up top, more power here, us locally. Don't think you should kill babies. Don't think there's any reason to have an abortion. I know that people like to throw the incest rape thing out, and I believe that's very, very low.
Very rare.
In those situations,
very minuscule.
In those situations, I think that, yeah, the individual person obviously has a lot of trauma, has a lot of stuff they probably need to go through and kind of sift out. And maybe that's not the best state to be deciding if you're going to end a baby's life or not, when you're obviously dealing with a lot of trauma under duress and all of those things.
Yeah.
Other than that, I think that's basically it on that one for me. Like it happens so rare. It doesn't need to be talked about a whole lot more, I think.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I do think you raped, incest, all that stuff. It's fucking terrible. Obviously, nobody wants that. We don't want that. But I do think there is more that needs to be taken into consideration instead of just fucking abort. I'm not saying they need to keep the kids, but like we know, big deal Titus O'Neil in WWE was product of rape, and that dude has won dozens of awards for giving back to the community. And so maybe an even more rare situation where the product of rape goes on and makes the world an immensely better place because he's so full of love. That's also something to be looked at. Other than that, obviously shouldn't be doing it. It's not healthy for you to get an abortion. It's not healthy for you to go through it mentally. Talk to a girl that had an abortion as a teenager. It fucked them up, and they probably haven't been able to come back from it 100%. It's traumatic. You don't know what you're doing, and it's irresponsible for everyone to be like, oh, if you're not ready because you want that promotion next year at your job you're gonna get, just fucking kill it. And you know what? Just wait till it's born, and then like if you don't want it, just kill it then. That's not cool. There's, not to go off on a tangent like I am, but there's the calendar method. And women have been shielded from this. They haven't been using it because we're not taught this. Fucking boys should be taught this shit too. We should all be taught how to understand the calendar method, how to know what time of her cycle it is, share that information with one another, fucking get comfortable saying cervical mucus. If you're going to fucking have sex with somebody, you should be comfortable enough to talk to them about that. And if you use it, efficient or not efficiently, if you use it consistently, it is pretty good. It's pretty reliable from my own experience, and people that I know that have utilized it. It hasn't been an issue. Of course, there's outliers, whatever, but less rights.
No, all they really want is these women pumped up on drugs that'll mess up their hormone system and all that.
Make them infertile altogether. Like the pill makes you infertile. Tampons have fucking pesticides, and even the ones that don't, like your body's not meant to be taking that shit up there just chilling. You know what I mean? And all these women are like, people, whatever. Some of them may be like raw, woman feminism, but they're afraid to free bleed while they're at work. You know what I mean? If you're going to open the door, open the fucking door. I know females that have done that do that chose to do it because they're trying to protect their bodies, and it's awesome. It's a whole nother level of fucking having balls, I think, that they're experiencing. But gosh, man, I've been pretty good. I've been working on not getting riled up. Looks like we got about 10 minutes.
That's crazy.
I know.
That's messed up.
It sucks. We're on a roll. But yeah, I've been working on trying to not get riled up. I'm barely on Instagram really, or anything. But when the abortion shit started coming out, and you have all these people like, women's health, that's not what it is. And like, it almost got me, man. I almost fucking started posting about it on my personal one. I was like, no, because they don't care. Their minds are made up.
Exactly.
And it was great because there was at least 2 of my friends that I saw that were like, women's health, abort whenever you want, for whatever reason you want. And then a week later, happy Mother's Day.
Yeah.
Awesome. The mental gymnastics to
That
get
makes
there
sense.
is beautiful. Thank you
Yeah.
for showing us the ignorance.
Hmm.
Well, since we have 10 left, should we abort the abortion talk and talk some Texas fire?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, or we could tease it and come back,
Let's do that. I
whatever.
don't want to rush it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's kind of a big topic. I noticed something right away. That's a good hook,
Oh,
with the numbers and all of that. But
oh
then all of a sudden,
no.
things change. But um, yeah, it's for you. You said it was what, an hour and a half, 2 hours away from where you're at.
Yeah, it's a few hours away.
Okay.
Being deliberately ambiguous with my location. Not that it fucking
Yeah.
matters, but you know, South Texas. Yeah, it's a few hours away. And I think I've driven through there actually because
Mm,
it sounded familiar when I saw it on the news. But I mean,
yeah.
if you live in Texas, you drive through fucking everywhere. You know,
Everywhere.
it's funny. Yeah, I'm down to put a pause on it and talk about that shit later because it opens up another Pandora's box of topics and opinions.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, besides this stuff, is there anything going on before we get into the next episode with the school shooting? Is there any other thoughts or anything else that's been going on that you want to catch up on, or
No, I mean not
what else have
necessarily.
you been seeing, paying attention to, noticing?
Okay. Actually, like a lot of the fucking stuff coming through Instagram and all that stuff, I'm not that interested in anymore. I did get a TikTok, and I only use it like if I'm like, God, like if I go to mindlessly scroll, I don't go to Instagram. I go to TikTok, and it takes
Mm.
one video, because I've just like, ooh, creepy video, fucking ad, follow. So I open it up, I get a weird video, and I'm like, hang on, I need to Google 20 things real quick, and then
Yeah,
and then at least I'm reading and learning some shit.
yeah,
I've actually thought about taking a few of those, and I was doing like quick 5-10 minute videos on just this, person who disappeared or something like that. So other than other than Russia, abortion, multiple shootings, because I don't even think we talked about the Buffalo shooting.
yeah, yeah.
Um, actually,
There was some interesting information
yeah,
about that one too. So we'll tie that one in with the
I
other
think so.
shooting, that episode as well.
So other than those five things that are currently ruling the news, I'm actually trying to do that thing where we look forward to see what we can anticipate coming down the pike.
Hmm.
Because I know voting's coming up. We got
Exactly.
monkeypox going. I'm assuming they're going to try to do mail-in votes so they can, you know, cover the
Fix
numbers.
something. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I feel like we're in a real good building up phase, and we're going to start to see fireworks going off soon. I'm just trying to prep myself to hold steady, pack some food away, get some extra water, and
Yeah.
I think in the next 2 years it's going to be tumultuous. But I think now it's kind of like the lead in and the prep. So watch how those around you react, and that way
Yeah.
you'll know when shit really hits the fan who you can count on and who you cannot.
So I actually had something because I found this out. I texted you about it right away when I found out. Um, so there's a way to force positive a
Yes.
test for COVID, and I had no idea that this was the thing. I was told about it because a couple coworkers are trying. They went to Vegas for AEW, and they're doing the whole
Jealous.
fan fest and all that, and so they
Nice.
needed some time off of work. So they're like, "How do I test positive?" And bro, anything acidic will make you test positive. So soda, and one of my other coworkers did lime juice. So you just swab it and then it'll show a positive test. And one of my coworkers did lime juice, and yeah, he's out for COVID pay right now. Um,
Wow. COVID pay
so
still a thing.
yeah, yeah, that's why people.
Wow.
I'm like, fuck, I might as well do that shit.
What an
Get some
interesting.
pay.
That's so
Soda,
interesting.
bro, soda. We were in a pandemic for soda or anything acidic,
Which
because
is
who doesn't
most
drink
things in
soda?
people. I
Exactly.
know.
Who
Well,
doesn't
Hanson's is
drink
dead now,
soda?
so
Is it
dude, I haven't seen Hanson's in like a year.
really?
Yeah. I casually look at
Huh.
Sprouts every time I go, and I ask one of the employees, and she's like, "I'm pissed because I love it, and they haven't given it to us." But anyway,
Huh.
that's
I'll have to check
interesting.
that out.
So
Yeah.
you don't have to like drink it and then spit, right? Like you just pour it on the thing, or what?
Yeah, exactly. Just
Cool.
dip your test in or whatever. But again, if you drink it, that acid and all that, whatever the chemicals are, would be in you. And who doesn't drink soda and then takes a test? You know what I mean? So it's like, of course, there's real cases, there's real things. But bro, we were in a fucking.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
know.
You've been on the other side of that one.
um I mean, I always felt that there was real cases, and then I just never knew anybody, but I know somebody whose family has really been affected and who has died because of it. So it's like, okay, you know, that definitely shined a different light on it for me, because I didn't know anybody until this person, and they were like, yeah, my mom died, this person died, all due to complications. Whether it was from COVID, but the COVID complications, whatever that dealt with, it was a thing. So we were in a fucking pandemic for sugary sodas and lime juice and anything acidic. And that's what was boosting all these cases, man. I
Yeah,
guarantee it. I guarantee it. For
that and
2+ years.
that and cycling the test a fucking 100 times.
Yeah.
Although at least if they were open, like, hey, we're gonna go into a pandemic because of acidic diets, I'd be like, okay, like yeah, that is true. Everyone is fucking acidic. Maybe give us some, give us alkaline water or something. I don't know.
Exactly. Education on actual health.
No,
You
no
know?
education. Listen
Yeah.
and do as you're told.
Yeah. So that was fascinating to me, because I was like, I didn't even know this was a thing, but I Googled it and it was all over. I was like, oh my gosh. And
That's funny. My
then
wife
my coworkers actually did it. So
did
I was
they
like,
did they do a
damn.
control where like they put alkaline water on it to see if it doesn't go positive? I mean, I guess the
No.
goal was just to get a positive. So what do they care?
Exactly.
Interesting.
Exactly.
Because
Yeah.
my wife did the spit tests for something she had to go to under, even though she didn't want to. Um, but she, hers came back negative, but she doesn't drink soda and she doesn't eat acidic. I do. I'm terrible with sugar, but she does not. And hers are always negative. So that anecdotally, that lines up.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah. It's super interesting. I was completely shocked by that. And I was like, man, we were in this whole thing because of soda. I like just breaking it down to a simple point like that, because it's like, who really doesn't drink soda? And healthy people typically don't as much. So the healthy
Yeah.
people were not testing positive. You know what I
Right.
mean? The
I
people
was
who
going to
don't
say,
chug sodas all the time, the people
mm,
who are eating healthy, more alkaline diet, plant-based diet, they're not testing positive. So it was interesting to me. I know we got less than a minute left, but that was interesting for sure.
yeah, it is interesting. All right, man. Well, I'll talk to you off camera. We'll figure out what we're going to do next, but we should say
All right.
our peace outs for now, huh? Until
Yep.
next
Yep.
time.
Yeah. Until next time. Hopefully soon. Hopefully right after this. Might be in the same shirt. So,
Yeah.
yeah. Until next time, everybody. Thanks for tuning in, and peace.